Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. Today we are continuing to work on Mike's S14. As you saw in the last video, we thought we'd go ahead and change out the head gasket because Mike's having some heating issues, and we thought maybe the head gasket might be popped. Well, that doesn't look like the case. Looking at the head gasket is probably okay, but it doesn't hurt to replace because we don't know when or if it was last replaced. So that's what we're doing today. If you saw the last video, we did run into a little bit of an issue in that when we took the intake apart, the paper gaskets that were in there pretty much tore due to age, and we didn't have replacements. So basically now Mike has ordered replacement gaskets. They're in, and we're gonna basically put everything back together. Now, what happened was I had seen some videos where people took the head off without taking apart the intake. It just wasn't working for us. Getting some of those bolts down below was just too hard. So we took the intake apart right here, and that was one of the gaskets that was paper and tore. So we've got the replacements. We should put everything back together. We'll put the timing belt on properly because last time we did determine that the timing belt was definitely off at least a tooth. And that was probably what was messing up his timing issue, and we can never get the car timed right. So hopefully we're gonna get all those issues fixed today. However, two things before we get started. One, if you do want to see more automotive, particularly GTR and of course S14 content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And two, if you'd like to support the channel, I do have the JD Archer shop. If you go to jdarcher.bigcartel.com, you can see a limited selection of t-shirts I've designed that are for sale. But with that out of the way, let's get Mike's car running. Okay, so the first thing we've done is we put the paper gasket from the lower to the upper intake manifold. Now, are you gonna try and slide that on now?
Try to at least get the bolts lined up, yeah.
Okay.
Like I'm not gonna tighten it up, but I'm still trying to get it.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, what I would do is if we have the nuts, just start them on that. A little bit of an update. As for those of you that watched the last couple episodes know, my GoPro's been having issues. I haven't replaced it yet, so it glitched. You missed some stuff, so just kind of walk you through what we did. We attached the intake manifold to the head because it's just easier to do that way, and then we attached the upper intake to the lower intake. It's still kind of loose though. And now we've actually dropped the studs in, and I've got them just kind of like hand tight, like I haven't really torqued them down at all. Now obviously there is a pattern. I will put it up on the screen along with the torque specs when we get to torquing this down. But that's pretty much just getting you up to date. So now the head is on, the intake is on, these are already torqued down. The bolts on the lower are not. We'll do that in a second. But after that, I think we can turn our attention to doing the timing chain, and pretty much not much left to the job after that. So Mike's gonna start torquing down the head bolts. You're gonna be doing this up to 70 pounds. You're gonna do it in 3 equal steps. So you're gonna go probably like 24, 48, 70. And there is a particular pattern. I'm gonna go ahead and put that up on the screen now so you can see the pattern in which you wanna go ahead and torque these down. So Mike's gonna start working on that, and then the head will be officially on the car along with the head gasket. All right, all torqued down. Now that the head's all torqued down, we can start working on the timing chain. Making sure. So the first thing we had to do was make sure that we had the lower timing chain lined up properly. So we had to make sure that we were in top dead center, which is why the magnet's in there. And then we wanted to make sure that we had this sprocket lined up. See, there's a little divot right here, and it lines up with this dark colored link. So now that we know that that's lined up properly, we're gonna go ahead and start doing the upper timing chain. And then hopefully we get that all lined up properly and we have a lot less issues when it comes to timing this car. And this gets torqued to 55 foot-pounds. Now be careful, apparently stripping this is a very common thing. So definitely don't go more than 55 pounds and do it in steps. So we're doing 45, 50, 55 foot-pounds, and then that's properly installed. As an update, we have now cycled it through a couple times just to make sure that the little divot on the sprocket matches with the dark link. It still does. Took quite a few rotations to get there. But we do have it lined up with top dead center on the crank pulley, and we also use this to verify. So we know we're top dead center and we should be good. Now all we need to do is pull the pin off the tensioner so then the lower chain is correct. All right, so now we're just removing the pin from the tensioner. So go ahead and push against the chain there. Oh, that's nice and loose. There we go, and go ahead and release. There we go, and we now have tension on the lower chain. All right. Oh, they paid. Now the cool thing that Nissan did with their caps is they labeled them and they put an arrow. So as you can see, this one right here is the 4th cap, arrow pointing that way towards the front. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. So I is for intake, E is for exhaust. I'm just putting them in the proper place. I'm not even starting to torque them down yet. I5. Now when you tighten these down, you want to do it evenly, because if you tighten down one of these more than the other, your entire camshaft can just break in half. You can kind of tell which ones are going to be under the most pressure based on where the lobes are sitting. So you can really kind of focus on that. But once you actually start tightening these down, you want to definitely make sure you move in the prescribed pattern, which is pretty much start with the ones that are under pressure and move your way out and work very slowly, like maybe just quarter of a turn at a time. All right, so when it comes to torquing these down, you want to make sure that the proper torque spec. Now, apparently you want to start these off at 1.4 foot-pounds, do the full sequence, and then you're going to finish up at 8.7 foot-pounds. Now, foot-pound torque wrenches typically don't go that low, so I'm going to be using an inch-pound torque wrench and converting. So if we take 1.4 inch-pounds and multiply it by 12, that gives us 1.4 foot-pounds becomes 16.8 inch-pounds. So I'm going to go ahead and see here, 8.7 in foot-pounds is 104 inch-pounds. So this one does go up to 104. So I'm going to just start at the lowest this can do, which is 50. And I'll take it up to 104, which it will go to. So looking at this lobe is facing up, this lobe is facing up, this lobe is facing down, this lobe is facing down. So I'm going to want to start with the ones with the lobes that are facing down, because they're going to be put under pressure of the springs from the lifters. So we'll go ahead and start there. All right, now we're working on the exhaust side, exact same story. So as you can see, this says E6, arrow pointing towards the front of the car. The camshafts are now installed and torqued down, and now we're starting to work on the cam sprockets. This is where we're gonna have to start worrying about doing our timing correctly. Now, things you're gonna pay attention to is, if you notice on this cam gear right here, there's a little divot right here. On this one down here, there's a little divot right there. And then the other cam sprocket has another divot right there. Now, the way it works is you have this chain, and as you can see, there's dark links, and those need to line up with those divots. Now, this is where a lot of people make mistakes when timing, because they'll get those lined up, and then when they put the tensioner on, they cycle it and it doesn't line up. And a lot of people do not cycle after they install the tensioner. So we will do that. We will make sure the timing marks are lined up correctly so Michael can properly time his car. So I'm gonna assume, because these are closer together, that they're the ones that go with this. So the first thing I'm gonna do is line up these if I can. There we go, so that's now lined up correctly. That's definitely lined up correctly. Okay, now for the not so fun part. Okay, so we want to make sure that this is on there. Okay, so I think you need to pull towards you. Yeah, quite a bit. Is it in? Yeah. Okay, put that bolt in. So you can see where, there's a lot of slack like right there. You can see where sometimes if you cycle it through, you're gonna realize that you're off a tooth.
Yeah, that's so also let us know if we're gonna have valves hitting the seem to be rotating.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it. All right, so one of the things that we haven't done yet that we're gonna do now is torque down the cam bolts. Typically, it's supposed to be about 123 to 130 foot-pounds, but we've been hearing from people you should really only do 90. So we're gonna kind of split the difference and do about 100. This is one where having a buddy definitely helps because these things will wanna rotate if you don't have somebody holding it. All right, there we go. Little update, we've gotten some stuff done. As you can see, the timing chain is now on and lined up. The cams are all torqued down and ready to go. I've started hooking up some of the water lines. We have this little housing that's gonna slip here, which will then let me put on the distributor right here. And then pretty much is just getting everything back together and then hitting it with a timing light and seeing how we're doing. So once again, I'm sure this footage is going to be different as well as the audios because I've switched my phone because the GoPro just is done. But pretty much what I wanted to talk about is we've got the timing cover on. We're getting very close to done. We're about to put the valve cover on itself, but we're going to do the distributor. Now the cool thing is the distributor actually gave you some marks to help you line it up in case you weren't paying attention. So you have this little dash right here, and then you have this little divot right there. So you make sure those line up. And then when you put it into the hole, you make sure the bolts are basically facing the correct direction, and it should be set up provided you have everything at top to center, which we already did. We confirmed with the timing mark down there, as well as putting my little magnet into here to watch it go up and down. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and get the distributor in. Now we got the distributor in. It looks like everything's sitting properly. Won't know till we fire up the car. So we do have a timing light. As soon as we get this all set up, we'll check the timing, make sure it's sitting where it's supposed to be. We'll rotate. If we cannot get the timing where it needs to be based on that, then we know that we're off a tooth and we'll pull the distributor out, move it one tooth and try and get it back in, then we got a time to okay. When it comes to installing the valve cover, you're gonna wanna put some little bit of RVT here on the half moons. They're notorious for leaking there, but pretty much once you get it all set up, ready to put this on the car. As you can see, we're pretty much all together. We've got all of the sensors hooked up, the intake is installed, the exhaust is all there, 2 sensors plugged in, fuel rails all sorts of ready. So pretty much we're almost ready to start this up. And I say almost because there's 2 things we're missing. One, Mike had a timing light. It is missing, and so we can't properly time this car without a timing gun to know where we're sitting, so we got to hold off on that. And then the other thing is this plug right here. I, for the life of me, cannot figure out where this plug went. I can't seem to find any other spot to plug it in. So if you have an idea, go ahead and post, let me know, save me a headache of trying to find wherever it is that's supposed to go. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and leave a thumbs up button to let me know. If you would like to see more automotive, particularly GTR and S14 content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You can also follow me on all forms of social media, which include Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. There'll be a link for those in the description down below. Now, after watching this video, if you have any questions, which I imagine with all the camera issues I had, you probably will. If you find there's a better way to do this, or if you did something completely wrong, go ahead and post in the comment section down below. I will respond to you. I thank you all for watching, and until next time, forget everything else, focus on the finish line. Oh, as a PS, I will do a short once this car fires up so you can actually see it run.